See, cmpradio.net. It's the station, man. I am excited for this interview. I've been waiting for this interview for almost 2 years now.
1 year. Don't do that. It's 1 year.
No, but we have with us the state representative of the 159th, Mrs. Carol Kazeem. How you feeling?
I'm feeling good.
You are?
Feeling overwhelmed, tired, and feeling even better and joyful and blessed.
One quick question. Is it what you thought it was?
It is not. It is not. Because I didn't know what I was going to walk into since it was my first time taking a public office. Right. I didn't really know what to expect. I knew it wasn't going to be easy, that's for sure. I knew it was going to be a lot of picking up. But, you know, I think walking in and seeing how much needed to be fixed, along with the things that, you know, needed to be done, definitely is way more than expected. And other little minor things.
So every 2 years, they elect a new state rep or re-elect the same state rep that happened before. You're coming up on re-election during this year, right now, while you're also working for the 159th. You're up for re-election, right?
Yes, so you run every year and a half. At least every year or every year and a half, depending if you have a challenger or not.
That's crazy. I don't think they should do that like that. Maybe they should extend it to 4 years. Why is it that
we would have to change the Constitution, the statute on that, for representatives.
Yeah, that's crazy. Every 2 years, like, you don't really get a chance to get things done. Maybe that's why things aren't getting done. Anyway,
it takes a while.
Yeah, I know it does. And we're working towards getting everything done now. So, reflecting on your first year as state rep, what accomplishments are you most proud of?
Couple things, actually.
Okay.
I do want to emphasize that, you know, based off of some of my colleagues in the House, because I am new coming in, they stated to me that it usually takes a full term just to even come in and learn. Mm-hmm. You really don't even start making moves. A lot of them said they really didn't even start really making legislations or really doing much of a lot until maybe their third year in. Right. So I'm only 1 year in. But I will say, coming in 1 year, I can't say which one I'm most proud of, but I'll just mention a few things. A lot of the legislations that has passed on the floor that I was the prime sponsor on, almost every one of them passed with bipartisan.
Come on.
And that's not really easy. And when I say bipartisan, for those that don't really understand what bipartisan may mean, it means Democrat and Republicans.
Both
we don't
parties.
we don't have any independents.
Right.
And it took myself going over to the other side, meaning the Republican side, because I'm on the Democratic side, being able to talk to them about the issues that might even
affect their
surface.
communities,
yes.
right.
And why is it important in my community? And getting them to understand what my community, what my district looks like, and getting them to understand that when we're making decisions, just like I have to make decisions, and I'm voting yes or no, we have to make sure that we include all Pennsylvanians. Nobody's excluded from anything. So my vehicle code, which actually helps individuals that probably already dealing with like a license suspension or dealing with excessive traffic citations. Okay. Basically what it is that it's giving the judge an opportunity to now ask the individuals if they want to get community service, up to 100% community service.
Wow.
So instead of their fines just constantly being excessive and increasing, where the constables have to constantly keep coming out because it keeps running money, right. It end up becoming a hurdle to the court system, but not only that, a financial burden to the individual.
Absolutely.
So if someone end up going through a financial hardship and they're unable to pay, we already know if their payment plan drops and they're not able to pay for that month, they're trying to figure out whether it's food or that, you're going to pick food first, right. Especially for your children if you have children. So instead of them constantly dealing with that financial burden, and then what happens is when it drops, it now has to end up going back to PennDOT. PennDOT will now issue that, your license is now suspended. The local court system will now issue a warrant for you. So now you're back being locked up just because you missed one payment, even though you might be working. I've seen people lose jobs in the midst of it. And like I said, it just adds another fee on top of the fee you have to do. Right. So just to eliminate individuals being really incarcerated and just filling up beds for something minor like that. Some people may say it's a big deal, But in a lot of cases, sometimes stop signs,
Yep.
little things like that can really just pay off a fine, or community service with everything we see going on right now in our communities. I just felt like an individual's coming out and maybe involving themselves in a local organization or in community work can actually be a good way for someone to actually know what's going on in their community.
Absolutely.
As a way to basically pay that price for what they have done.
Yeah. So CMP Radio Foundation has taken in several people on community service, right? 32 hours, 45 hours, how many hours you have. Come to CMP Radio and help us out, man. I typically just put you on the music and let you figure out how the music
so
sounds.
if you that person that's now going to get community service, come out to CMP.
Come on. I can use you, right?
Absolutely.
Can you share a significant challenge that you faced during your term and how you overcame it?
If I can say what my challenge was, definitely having to pick everything up literally. So the state does not, they'll help pay for the rent, but they don't provide you the place, the space. So coming in, I had to find my own space, had to build the place up. Then I had to get people to come in and train. And then from there, and mind you, when you just getting elected and some people may feel like they haven't been serviced, it's like right from the rip.
Right.
So I had to come in prepared and ready off the ground from the beginning. So since day one, I wasn't able to have the place right then and there. However, we had to now start providing remote services. Where I would just give at that time I was giving out my personal number so people can call. And then from there, we have Upper Chichester, that's a new district, but because it's all the way down, and also for people that don't know, I also represent Ogden, which is kind of a little piece of Astor Township. So with them being all the way on the other side, I had to now also get a secondary office, which is not really, no reps really have to. That was something I did to prioritize the needs of folks that's probably like on a lower Chi, Market Upper Chi, and then the Chester office will handle the Parkside, Eddystone, and trainer folks over on this way in Chester. So, having to be able to tackle between trying to find your own office, trying to make sure you negotiate to see what that looks like, budget, what the price that they give you, and then realizing that most of the stuff that you're paying, like all of those bills, actually comes out of my pocket. So every electric, every water bill, all of that stuff comes directly from me, and then motherhood. So I'm still have the 2 children, so still trying to balance with making sure that I'm staying on it with the kids, making sure that they see me all the time, and then have to go to Harrisburg.
Right.
So I'm driving 2 hours. I don't stay at Harrisburg. Everybody gets on me about that. Even some of the other reps, they say that, I need to stay, but I do drive back and forth every day for any time I need to be in Harrisburg. So just being, and I do that just so my children can see me, and so I can make sure that I'm still being involved in whatever they have going on. I just don't want work, what I'm doing to necessarily get too much in the way to where they don't see me at all, and they grow up. So that's pretty much, that balance. And then, like I said, still having to be a service to everyone where somebody can go in and be off on weekends. I'm off no days. So it's like Monday through Sunday, and then even when I am home, constituents may still call, whether it's through Messenger, whether it's through my cell phone, whether it's through the Harrisburg work phone, or even calling the staff. And the staff got to call me to figure out what's going on. So I'm still constantly on the clock, just answering. Sometimes I'll still get middle of the night calls from my previous job, helping with trauma informed, where people might have things going on in the crisis and still trying to service people. So it's definitely around the clock job. So having to balance all of that, from the legislative duty to being the outreach person to being the mother, and then, like I said, having to build everything up from scratch. A lot of people don't know that, but that's something you have to build from the scratch. So they don't give you anything. You got to figure it out on your own, literally.
So I was going to ask you personally, how have you grown since? But you put that into the question as well, right?
Patience, self-discipline. That even if I'm feeling frustrated and overwhelmed, just learning how to sometimes just pick my battles, just knowing what should I respond to at the time if it's even needed for a response. Just knowing what I'm going to prioritize, and just understanding that everybody's going to be not happy at times, but then also knowing that because I know God called me to do what I'm doing, just remembering those things. So
how about that?
It's the patience. It's the patience. It's knowing that even when I want things to get done right now, it took a lot. It took a lot.
What new skills have you developed since becoming state rep? Now, you already had a ton of skills. You already had people skills. You was already in the community. You were already talking to people. You were already gathering people together to do marches, to do walks, to do sit-ins, to do everything. So to me, you were already there as far as I was concerned as being a state rep. She's already shown you that she can do that. But what new skills have you developed since becoming state rep?
I did say patience, right?
Right. You definitely said patience. Right.
New skills. I don't know if the right word would be diplomatic. A little bit would be in there. I would say
Diplomacy, right? That's
yeah,
diplomatic.
but I think new skills. I would say I probably enhanced a little further in leadership. In my opinion, what you think? I would say enhance more in leadership, being able to, really just come in and open a door for individuals that are looking for employment, but really more setting in a space that where we know when we come from corporate, type of world, sometimes you may feel like you're not heard. Right. You may feel like you're dealing with, personal issues where people, sometimes when you're in the corporate world, it's like, I don't really care, get it done.
Absolutely.
But I try to create a space where we all can be respected, heard, and supported by one another at the same time that we're supporting the community because we have our own issues. So I think that leadership, grew a little bit more.
Okay. That's awesome, right? I always pray for my friends, right? We were friends before you decided to run. We were doing things in the community. We were always active, right? So I always pray for my friends to just receive that grace, right? And they should be grateful and thankful that they have the opportunity to do what they're doing, just as long as they're doing it right? Continue to bless the community and show the children, right? And I know that's a big thing for you. The children are a big thing for you because they're a big thing for me, right? To show them how to behave as adults and how to want more for their community. And if you want more for your community, it grows. If you want more for yourself, if you're an individual, it don't grow too much. But how have your priorities for the 159th evolved since you took office?
Whew. Well, we all run on that, all of our issues.
Right.
We want to see social justice.
Right.
We want to see housing.
Right.
We want to see
environmental education.
As far as how did it evolve, I will say going into Harrisburg and seeing that one side looked like Mississippi, one side you think you in Texas, one side you remember you in PA, but just seeing how much divided we are and the way that you have to fight even more excessively, it really has pushed me in a way to say now that I found out a little bit more of why things are the way they are, it makes me say, let me target things a little bit more and differently. I'm going to give you an example, human trafficking. Yeah. A lot of cases, sometimes when I sit with law enforcement, I'm still seeing a high rise with prostitutions where they're picking them up. Some of them might have been addicts and so forth. Right. But when you really look deep into a story or certain things that's going on, a lot of them probably have been survivors of human trafficking.
Absolutely.
So how do we actually provide the support where the incarceration is not just the angle for them? Because sometimes I'm hearing them say, well, they're adults now, but that trauma still sticks with them.
Absolutely.
So it might, be as if they're, committing these crimes, but a lot of it is still in the response from what they were suffering, since a youth. So looking at something, I'm not going to sit here and say minor because to me it's major, but to someone else it might be minor, but looking at little things like that makes me say, okay, now how do we actually tackle that part of a holistic approach to trauma when it comes to human trafficking, especially around communities of color? So it's things like that, the education, they fighting that education. Everybody in Harrisburg is screaming they want education,
more money for education,
more money,
right?
Until you get there, and then you realize you got, you have, how can I put it? People that are in for business, that starts to come out. These institutions are now trying to gather more out of us and pull away from more of the local school districts.
Absolutely.
And then you realize, you say, okay, well, I thought y'all wanted every child to be counted, but we're not moving in that way. And what happens is, they start to pull it because now someone's getting paid behind it. So, unfortunately, that's still going on. But it makes me say, let me keep pushing even further. So you start to find out who the players are.
So can you explain to me how, let's say, right now, my sister, a mentor of mine, Saja Purple Queen Blackwell, is running for state rep of the 10th district in Philadelphia, right?
It was Philly, I think she's running.
Right. Can you say how relationships between state reps are, right? If you're in Philly and you have an area that's affected like Chester is, right? That has, underrepresentation of help, underrepresentation in the school district, right? And just crime going, a little left. Can you explain how that relationship between you and another state rep will work, or?
Yeah, so I mean, every reps is different.
Right.
Depends on the county that you live in, what kind of population that you represent. As far as, let's say, like some of the Philadelphia reps, other Delco reps, how we do it is pretty much anything that seems to affect any kind of community that looks like it's going to affect my community. We just support one another. So whether it's coming out for press conference, whether it's coming out to help legislative door knock along with our own districts that we do, and just legislative door knocking is completely indifferent. That's when you're still knocking on the doors, letting folks know the resources that you provide at the office. Coming together and just sitting at a table, just talking about the issues that we actually deal with and how can we provide solutions. Collaborating on different legislations with one another. Hosting town hall meetings where we still try to go to each other's town hall meetings and be able to strategize, find ideas, and network with each other. So those are the ways that we try to support one another. I do a lot with some of the Philly reps because a lot of the issues that Philly deal with, we deal with. And then also I try to, bridge a collaboration, which I talk to them all the time about, on how do we provide unity, especially amongst community of color sometimes, when it comes to our issues. So instead of it just being, that's a Chester thing, that's a Philly thing. No, we all being, I don't want to use the word gentrified, but we all are being basically targeted in different ways.
Absolutely.
And the sad part about it is it's the same players. They just pinpointed. So when we learn how to come together and prioritize the issues that actually affect our communities collectively, we get heard more in Harrisburg. So that's how we sit together on.
How do you stay connected and engage with your constituents that do not share your skin color?
That actually was one of the challenges too.
Right.
It was a challenge, but not a challenge. But I say that because you have to learn different municipalities.
Yes, you do.
So being from Chester, living in Chester is completely different from, even though I was very close to a lot of folks in Parkside and in Eddystone, it's very different in Upper Chichester. And also the views are different. So for me, how I had to do it is, first and foremost, I had to go in and sit and have town halls. I had to have community meetings. I had to hear their issues and concern. But I really took the time to really learn the demographic. I had to look at what issues matter, what neighborhoods have more working families, which neighborhood had more seniors, which area that may not look like me may be more low income, and which ones may be more on a wealthier side. The 159th is predominantly a blue collar community. We have some folks that might be a little bit wealthier in some parts of Upper Chi, but it's really more so I had to learn the demographic than I had a legislative door knock. And I had to ask them, for one, I had to be honest with them. You see me, I'm a black woman. I just want to know what, concerns you and your family. I would like to know what is it that you want me to prioritize to support you, and that even though I am who I am, I'm still here to service you and your family. So I sit down with them, I talk to them at their doors, I meet them at their community centers, and they talk to me about some of the things that prioritize. And some of the things that they feel like is a concern of theirs. And I try to find different ways. So like, for example, sometimes some folks may call me in a trainer or Upper Chi about PennDOT issues. Or they may call me about certain road work. So I know that certain things like that may be an issue for some because they may not have many challenges here. So it's just being able to learn how to navigate the differences and know what exactly is a priority in certain communities.
Looking back a year, is there anything you would have done differently in your first term? Because everybody always has something to say. Well, she wasn't here. She didn't do this. She ain't over there, right? But I'm asking you, right, to judge yourself and say, looking back, I would have done this completely different, or I wouldn't have said this, right? Sometimes you got to put it out. Put out the fire.
I don't think I would have done anything differently because And I'm really trying to think hard. So if you feel like it's
no, I don't feel like you've done anything.
Please let me know. No, I'm being honest. Please let me know.
No, I'm being honest
I'm always open, but
Right.
I don't feel like that only because, again, as I said earlier, walking in, I'm not going to sit here and say I was told, but my work spoke for itself,
Right.
and I delivered. I came in from the beginning off the ground, ready to get things moving, and was already moving.
Absolutely.
I see legislators all day long that tells me, it takes us 2 years, 3 years to finally even get to a place of feeling comfortable. I had to literally put that nervous feeling to get on the floor and speak, not knowing if I was going to be looked at. I had to walk in and realize that people talk over you while but having to go in there to say, hey, listen up, you're going to count the 159th included, and then having to now look at different things that are going on in different communities. So I didn't come in, and I just want to put this out there. I didn't come in just only as state rep providing state-related services. And my witness to the left-hand side can testify. I had to come in and also provide support to the city. Mm-hmm. I had to provide support to other leadership, in other areas that might have felt like they didn't know which way to go, and I'm coming in new.
Right.
So it wasn't like I just came in and only provided just state stuff. I had to handle city issues too.
Right.
And it's not something that I have to do, but I did it because I wanted people to at least get the service they needed, and it helped me learn the ropes around who handles what needs to be handled. If this is an issue in a local municipality, what can I do on a state level to help ease the burden off of them, or be able to even incorporate some other strategies that can help them enhance better in the local community. So it wasn't like, she just came in state rep and was only focused on funding. Like, I had to literally go and meet different municipalities, different council folks across the district. I had to meet with community members across the district. I had to meet with businesses across the district. And the excessive housing issues that started to come out was like, whew. So dealing with the Delaware County Housing Authority, talking to private landlords about ways that we can enhance them further, and trying to find out who has something available, trying to talk to folks that they're like, this person been evicted once or twice. And it's like, listen, I understand it's been 10 years, give them a chance. They working 2 jobs. They doing this. It was a lot.
Right.
So it's not something just coming in to be like, okay, because I can honestly say a lot of the services that I provided was way more than any other reps or anybody else, which is why we have the highest number in CTS throughout the entire state, literally. And it's been already put out there publicly.
I'm proud. I'm proud to see that the state rep seat is being held by somebody that's not afraid of the work, not afraid to go into the community. Like I said, several people in the community. You were in the community prior. And so now we're up for re-election. And the question will always come up. Why do you believe you are the best candidate for the state representative seat?
Because I've been already doing the work. And the work, honestly, all jokes aside, I believe I'm the best candidate because, for one, as I said, I didn't come into this because of money. I didn't come into this because, I want to be seen for this and for that, despite what any, else's opinion is. I was in my own little corner doing work, helping people in the community.
Right.
But I stepped up, for one, because I know God called me to do it. I wanted to open up some doors for folks that have not been serviced, or people that felt like they were being, pushed around or pushed back from being able to get other opportunities and spaces for themselves. And also, a lot of the work that I've honestly started right now, like I said, 1 year in, which could take 2 to 3 years, I really want to finish that work.
Right.
I see Mr. Rich Bly, shout out to Rich Bly, who do a lot of great work in Upper Darby, and rest in peace, Brian Taylor, who was a great community advocate that I'm going to miss so dearly, who just recently passed and was an advocate for veterans, even just servicing the veterans community. I have 2 legislations that now just came out, which somehow nobody didn't think about.
Right.
But one of them is changing the statute, the Pennsylvania statute, to include mental illness for veterans. So I'm a sponsor for that. So a lot of people co-sponsored it. It's bipartisan. It's going to be more than likely running on the floor this session. So I'll be very grateful to see all my colleagues from both sides of the aisle honestly support that bill. But it's to include mental illness so they can be able to receive the benefits for the 100% physical disabled folks.
Right.
So for those individuals, they're only looking at it on a physical standpoint, but I want them to include mental as well, because that's also a disability.
It is.
And then the second thing is the stipends for veterans. So when veterans are dealing with a hardship, which you see a lot of the individuals that are unhoused, they used to say homeless, but it's now termed unhoused. A lot of them, they can only receive up to, I believe it's $1,500 within a year that them or their family can claim if they're dealing with a financial hardship, whether it's to help with rent. It hasn't been changed since like the 80s. So I had to go and do some digging and research to say, well, what is the stipend? Do they have stipends for veterans? So I started doing my research, and the next thing you know, I seen something on there that said when the last time it was, and I started putting the legislation together. So now from the 80s, I'm asking that it changes from $1,500 to $2,500 within that year because of the inflation and everything like that. So I met with the Veterans Affair, where they're like, well, this can't come out the Veterans Trust Fund. Who you going to get the budget from for that? So I'm praying my appropriations chairman, hear me out and add that to this legislative budget season, where we can take a nice chunk of money and add it to the Veterans Trust Fund, so it can help a lot of families in hardship, especially for those that lost their loved ones, their mother or their father, or their legal guardian that was a veteran, but have not been able to really obtain the benefits that they supposed to get.
Come on, man. That's important, right? And you're fighting for the veterans. You're fighting for the people that fought for us and continue to fight for us. So, yeah. How have you worked? Go ahead. What you?
I was going to say to the seniors.
I was about to say that.
To the seniors.
It was coming.
Because they coming for me, so I need y'all to have my back.
Right.
They coming for me because I'm asking that the seniors get 100% property tax relief off of at least one residence. So they can at least claim up to one primary residence where they don't have to basically pay the taxes on it. And that starts from the ages 70 and above. Then they were saying, well, could we push it a little bit? So I said, okay, maybe 75. But now we're trying to look at what that would look like as far as local communities, because I know I sit on a local government committee, so I would have to talk with my local government chairman and the rest of my colleagues to think about what that would look like for the realtors. What would that look like for economic development in certain communities? Because a lot of times they make their money off of those, revenue, off the taxes the local municipality does.
Yep.
So I would have to look at communities that might be already in distress and where that funding can come from through DCED to help those seniors in that. So right now it's still like a big negotiation phase right now before I actually introduce that legislation, because I have to make sure I, dot all I's and cross all T's before I just throw it out there. So
Absolutely.
Just letting the seniors know, if you see that legislation get put out there for 70 and above, let them know that you want to claim one up the property 100%. I think that would really relieve a lot of financial stress on the seniors that are no longer working, that are retired, and they're using all of their retirement, their pension fund, their social security fund, all in that. They putting it all in a pothole just to pay for 1 year. Every single time a tax, it's a lot.
I know it is.
It's a lot. Depending where you live at, it's a lot.
Right.
They take that whole check and go straight to their taxes.
Give me that. Why don't you go into a home or something? Sell your house.
Yep. That's it.
Yeah. So y'all can continue to make more money. The banks can make more money.
Correct.
It's all a game.
Retire for that.
Right. How have you worked to ensure that the voices of underrepresented communities are heard and addressed?
Okay, so a few things. Definitely still have been meeting with a lot of community folks. Just trying to see, for one, I try to update them on what's going on across the district, what's going on the state side, and I try to hear from them on what they say is going on. And then second, meeting with different departments and agencies on the state side, which has never been honestly done before in our district. And I say that because I'm starting to put a little bit more accountability on them. DCED, when it comes to the receivership here, when it comes to other, municipalities that need more economic development, like Trainer, who's still trying to get their rec center. Different folks like that, meeting with the governor's team, making sure that they come down and see exactly what's here, what's needed in our district, so they can actually prioritize us as well for funding, but also just, collaborating with the different municipalities and the local folks, and just making sure that nonprofits are also, being included in that. A lot of inmates that are incarcerated. There are many across our district that are still incarcerated, whether they committed the crime or they not. There are still some people that are there still falsely, going to different, next week I got to go to Rockview and Muncie and Benner, and then the week after I have to go to
Benner's in Pittsburgh, isn't it?
yeah, and then the week after I think I have to go to Lord, there's so many of them. That's the sad part. I can't remember, but I know the next week after that I have to go to one of the other. I think it was Fayette and another one. So I have to literally go to each and every prison because, again, in this district, whether they're there or not, we still have a lot that is technically from the 159th that's everywhere. Right. So I literally travel around the different SCIs at least twice, 3 times a week if I can, if not at least 2-3 times a month, just to at least go in here. Not just only the ones from the 159th, but just across the PA. Wow. I'd come across people from New York, came from Rikers, and it's like, well, what's going on? Some of those folks have been able to go home after, speaking with them, trying to figure out ways to support them. And there's people around here that recently just came home, after realizing some cases should have never been where it is. Some cases are not even in the books. So I do get a lot of heat behind it for people that feel like that. They may say, well, she's letting the criminals out, but I don't just let everybody out, but I do try to make sure that we have a fair and justice system.
Absolutely. So, yeah. Fair and equal. How do you handle criticism or opposition? And can you provide an example of how you turn such a situation into a positive one?
As I said earlier, I pick my battles. Sometimes it's not even really meant to even be responded to, depending on what it's about. Right. I would say in some situations, if someone is, they how can I put it? In some situations, if someone is misunderstood or they don't know exactly what they're referring to and they're speaking on something, I will respond and let them know the truth from my standpoint.
Absolutely.
It's not to say that their feelings or their opinions or what they feel is disregarded, because when you feel how you feel. That's just that. So someone could still feel like, I still feel this, that's fine. But I want you to know that this is where I'm at with things. This is why I do what I do. So honestly, as I said to you earlier, it's the patience. So I'm really just disciplining myself more in the standpoint of like, okay, how do we communicate in a healthy way? Just so you can understand and educate you to say, this is what this means and this is why what it is. And once I feel like we get that education and that awareness out, then it's up to you to say whether you're going to do your research behind what I say and actually see if it's, matching what I said, or you're just going to sit here and say, I still don't want to hear it, and that is okay. So really it's just more having that healthy, effective, educating conversation and just making someone aware. Another thing I would say as far as criticism, throw this out, definitely I dealt with the most criticism with the Lifeline. Those mailers, and those Facebook ads that is running.
What is Lifeline?
Okay. So Lifeline is a voucher. They call it a voucher. How we have vouchers.
Right.
But it's basically a scholarship that money is given from the state. So let's say Archbishop Carroll came to me and said, I want you to fund us to be able to take some of the kids that we pick into our schools. So I say, okay, I would then give them, let's say, $45 million. Out of that $45 million, they would then pick, it's like a lottery, they would then pick which child they feel across the state can come to their school once the application is put in by the parent. 10,000 of that dollars from that $45 million that I gave them would now be allocated on your child's account. However, this school might now charge $20,000 for that year. So the other $10,000 is now left on the parent to still pay every month. So Lifeline is basically just taking children, that may be in certain school districts that the parents may feel like they want them to go to private school, is to give them more options. Right. The problem with Lifeline, which is why all the mailers and the ads and everything like that is going, and I want people to know you don't get $10,000 in your hand. Some parents are being misled and they think, you don't get it in your hand. It goes directly as a big
school.
It's a big gulp of money that goes to the school.
So if it's a big gulp of money, why aren't the kids going for free?
Well, that's the problem. So we haven't yet even addressed the fair funding model in our own local school districts, right? We still haven't even addressed the accountability that needs to even take place with other schools that are even receiving the money. Right. So how can we still stop funding for our local school districts? Like example, for Chester Upland, I had to literally ask for an $11.4 million increase just for the school district to receive that kind of money. So it was kind of like, that's the highest they've ever even received. So if really I had to ask for that, my real ask was 50.
Right, because if you're giving
My
40,
real ask was 50. That was the lowest they was willing to go, but it was the highest they've ever received.
that's crazy.
So if we can't yet pull that money
Right.
for Chester Upland or for Chichester or for other school districts,
pulling that money
then how
from?
am I able to pull out 45 mil to now give to a private school that already has the wealthy donors and sponsors? Now, it doesn't take away the choice of the parent. However, until I feel like transparency is met, because again, it's not like we're saying, okay, I can go to Chester Upland give me 30 kids. Pendelco, give me 15 kids.
Right.
Chichester, you give me 40 kids. It's
they
not
look-
like
no, they
we get
looking-
to pick.
They looking at the kids.
They
Oh,
look
no,
at the kids
no,
and they
yeah.
pick and choose which one they want.
So my son,
So it's not always transparent because they're not going to pick our kids.
yeah, my son went to Archbishop Carroll. He graduated from Widener, right? He went to Archbishop Carroll first 2 years. It just wasn't a fit for him, right? He wasn't able to be, and I could tell by picking him up, like, Catholic school really ain't for you, is it? He was like, I don't know. You know, so now, you know, we're living in Delaware now, so he's down Delaware. And so for me, understanding that every school, looking at every school, Chester Upland, right, how much it's lacking, and seeing that we're still giving money to the people that have more so they can get more,
Right.
instead of giving money to the people who are poor and have less so they can get more. Right. It's a crazy system. So right now you got $11 million into the school district, but you could still get $45 million for a Catholic school to bring in more kids. That's crazy.
Right, but again, it's not just all kids,
Okay.
right?
It's
So,
whoever they pick.
Right.
Right.
And my issue with that was, as I stated to, I'm going to just say agencies that I spoke to around this topic, I asked them that if you want my vote, and the reason why the mailers was running was because I was the last vote that said no. I was a big no. Everything was on pause. I was no, 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 no. Unfortunately, P, like you said, going into this, you know, what are some things that's challenging is even knowing that even when you're a part of a caucus, sometimes you have to still just stand alone when you know what's wrong. So that's just what it was. For me, it was clearly wrong because I knew that when it came to the school districts that are in my community, right, I knew they were going to probably pick one or two of the all-stars.
Right.
That's going to make their schools look good.
Right.
That's going to put them in a higher rank.
Right.
They weren't going to care about the kids that are doing
students.
art,
Right,
the kids that maybe are good with
Theater,
music
right.
and theater and
Yeah,
acting and
yeah,
drama.
yeah.
They weren't going to care about other kids that had those further
Just worried
opportunities.
about the basketball players.
And then what I asked them was, now when you pick those students, those one or two all-stars, what happens if their parent is unable to pay $1,000 a month?
That's a lot.
The child is now kicked out of the schools because it's an institution.
Not if he's a good basketball player. Or they'll find somebody to sponsor him.
Right, if he's that
Right,
one.
right.
Right,
If he's
two
that
out
one.
of how many we got? Like
Yeah,
thousands.
yeah.
So you end up taking that money away because what happens is they kick them out. Once you pass like maybe 2-3 months non-payment, you get kicked out. Now the child is back at Chichester and Chester Upland with the money still not following because the private school gets to keep it. And then, the private school keeps it. It's not like the $10,000 come out of it and come over to Chester Upland. No, the money doesn't follow. It stays there. They come back, and then now we still have an excessive rate of students without the money that's actually matching it. Then, with that, like I said, without even that transparency that they can tell me who's going to actually help pay for the parents, how they're going to end up, nobody could answer me on that. Nobody. It was, well, they're going to have to figure out how to pay the other balance.
Yeah.
Well, then therefore I can't say yes.
You're not supposed to say yes.
So
There's
that,
no way.
that was the issue.
There's no way, knowing that your constituents are suffering and other people are benefiting, that you would say yes. Right? You needed to be equal, right? If this kid goes here and he leaves, the money should follow him. If this kid goes there, the money should go. So I
just didn't want to trap.
Thank you.
No, seriously, I just didn't want to trap. I didn't want any of the parents, and I mean this by all means, from the bottom of my heart. It wasn't to take away a choice.
Right.
Because any parent has the right to send their child wherever they want to send their child to. I didn't want the parents to be set up in a trap because I know the median income level that's in this district. I know the parents that probably can do it. I know the parents would have to pick up 2-3 jobs to keep them going. And the next thing you know, rent is behind. Then it's food insecurities that's already going on. I just didn't want us
Calling
to be
Cable Jeff to cut your water back on.
Right. So I just didn't want a trap to transpire where the parents feel like they're making the best decision because that's what their heart is leading them.
Right.
I'm a mother, so we do what we have to do for our babies. But I didn't want them to be trapped where they end up sending them in there and then they tell them, oh, now you got to pay us another $10K. And it's a payment plan. And you know dang on well with the inflation and the rent costs and everything going on, nobody's just going to have it like that to just be paying $1,000 a month. And then they said no income. At the time, before the governor ended up changing it, there was no income threshold. So anybody could have fell under that scholarship bracket. I said that's not fair.
Yeah.
As a state rep, it is not fair for me to be able to get, because I know if I sent my kids there, they would have accepted them just because of who I was.
Right.
But that's not fair, P, for the simple fact that I know that if I really want to send them, as much as I'm still tight on funds, if I really want to send them, I might have a little something to stretch compared to the one that's probably next door that don't.
Absolutely.
So if we don't have no income threshold, how is that really helping the children that needs it the most?
Oh, that was a
If
piece.
any kid can come in, if your parent is making 100, 200, 300K, 400K a year, how is that even fair when someone is still at 20, 30, 40K a year, and now they get to bring their child in and they're just on a waiting list, but they have more opportunities.
You don't never know how hard it is until you start paying tuition.
Until you start paying tuition.
We were behind. It wasn't a month. They don't kick you out if you're a month
No
behind.
month. 3 months.
They allow you to. We was behind a whole lot more than 3 months, right? And when we finally paid it off, it was like, wow, that's a relief. But we can't do this next school year, right? It doesn't. It's not really working, right? If it's working for your son, and your son has straight A's, or your daughter is going to school and she gets straight A's and she's doing everything and she's in sports and everything is working and she got D1 schools looking for her, okay, keep her there, right? You're paying for that. But if it's not working out the way you thought it would, right, retract and find another school that suits your child.
Yep. Right? And I didn't want the pressure too, because that's going to come with pressure.
Absolutely.
And if I was to send my kid to that, I would put a lot of pressure on her. Like, you better make sure that you're doing. So if they on a scholarship, they ain't just bring you in because of your grade. They brought you in for a reason. So now your expectations
are high.
It's even higher.
Right.
So now the minute you slip off, sometimes Chester Upland or Chichester, they may say, oh, we're not going to write this kid up for this. We're just going to talk to him, where that school may.
Definitely will.
So now that might result to them being kicked out of the school. So it's different rules, different expectations, but I can promise you, that criticism that came, I was willing to sleep with that criticism because I know I couldn't sleep, with knowing that I was setting up a trap for more parents, for more students, to fall into, and knew that I was going to take away from more of the local school districts like Pendelco, Chichester, Ridley, and Chester Upland, knowing that they still need more support and help.
So because of your background, you understand how hard it is to make ends meet. A lot of people forget that when they get into politics. They forget about the people at the bottom. Because more than anything, the people at the bottom is what keeps things moving, right? The people at the bottom is what makes the most money. I'm trying to let y'all know. So if you're at the bottom right now, you can't figure out how to make to B or C to D, you make things move, right? And they appreciate you not being able to do that because your child will then go out and do something crazy and go to jail. That's making somebody money over here. Your daughter will have a baby. That's making somebody money over here, right? So you are the money makers, right? And they understand that. And so what it's like to be not at the bottom, but down on the ground. So you're not trying to set anybody up for failure down the road, right? Get evicted from your house because you're paying rent, because you're paying tuition at a school,
costs,
can't afford your phones get cut off, everything just falling apart, lose your card, now you can't. So that's what all can happen if you're paying tuition. But you realize all these things, so you're trying to tell the people up top, I'm not a politician. I am a regular person like them. So I'm telling you, and I feel the way they would feel in this situation. Let's refigure this. Let's come back and redraw this and make sure that the people at the bottom are benefiting from this program. So if we can get 10 students in instead of 20, then we get them fully paid scholarships to school, so the parents at the bottom don't have to pay for it. Right? If you're trying to help us, help us. Don't stand over top of me and say, I'm trying to help you, but you got to pay more money in there. No, that's not help, bro.
Definitely
not help, right? So I thank you. I appreciate you. Lastly,
finally didn't pass. It stood down on it. So it didn't pass.
Listen,
they want to bring it back up, but it didn't pass this time.
Hopefully it won't pass. It won't never pass, and we'll get a fully paid scholarship for the people that deserve it. right? Because if you're going to pick up a kid that you want at your school to play sports, then
it should be a thorough application for every parent.
A fully paid scholarship. Lastly, what message do you want to leave with the voters of the 159th as they consider their choices for the upcoming election?
I had no days off, y'all. Nah, seriously. Something I could leave the voters. Know that I've said this during my kickoff. Not going to make everyone happy. There are mistakes that I'm going to make because I'm not perfect, but know that I'm very genuine, and anything that I do, I'm doing it from the bottom of my heart. I'm always open, to having a conversation, even if it's something that, someone may look at from a different side or perspective. I'm always willing to hear all sides of things. But I want to finish the work. I want to finish the work for the people. I started 1 year in. This is just now, what month is this? February? I can't even tell you the date.
Yes, February.
Okay, so I made it a year and 1 month in. So that year and a month in, like I said, it really was a lot. But having the highest constituent services, not just through me, but my staff, who played a remarkable, vital role in making sure things were up and off the ground running, and pushing and getting people out there and making sure people were serviced, from the seniors to the younger folks to the schools. I just want to keep meeting with the school districts. I want to keep figuring out how we can put the city of Chester in a better place. I want to make sure that the Chester Water Authority, even though, the receivers team may not be always happy with my legislation around it, but I have to do my job to make sure that it's not sold.
Absolutely.
I want to make sure that, the veterans are still supported, our seniors are supported. I want to make sure the businesses, I'm very big on our businesses, our small businesses right now, because I believe they play a key role.
A very key role.
In our community and in economic development. So, my next project, next phase is kind of incorporating them in a little bit more into these comprehensive planning across the district and these municipalities. Our unions, that are still here, our healthcare workers, our education. We got the whole issue. We could talk about it another day. I would like to come back. Crozier, that's a whole big thing right now that y'all don't even know too much publicly, that I am ready to tell y'all. But it's a whole lot going on right now with Crozier. And just thinking about the fact that this entire district is serviced through Crozier, and everybody else might have mainline and stuff, I'm like, right now on what happens if this goes. It's too much. So it's a lot for one person, but that's where we all come together collectively. And I just want to continue to still be here to support the people and put the people first, as I've always been doing, and just making sure that I'm here doing it. I've been able to secure more than $500 million in this district for the first time.
500 million?
500 over in the district.
In the district?
In the district. Man. Over 50 bills introduced. First time in the district.
Can we get some money so we can hire some cops?
That's actually another conversation I'm having with appropriations.
Like,
right
literally.
Now.
Like, I'm trying to
No, that's a conversation, even around funding for accreditation and more stuff. So, and I've actually I was working with Eddie Stone on that with the police department. Next step with them is diversity. So they've been.
We don't want no diversity in Eddie Stone.
They've been working with me on certain stuff, the police department. I got to give them that. It was definitely a challenge in the beginning, but we finally are there on some things that they have been doing that I've been asking, and they've been having trainings and different stuff that I've been going to and different things that I've been asking. Next step, and they got accredited, as I asked, next step is diversity conversation.
I feel like a police force should mirror the community.
It should,
right.
And that's why
if their
that's the next conversation.
Is Caucasian in essence, then the police force should be Caucasian in essence.
Well, Eddie Stone is diverse.
Ridley, same way. You don't mess with them red cop cars. You see them red cop cars?
Ridley definitely may have a predominant Caucasian area, but it is still a lot of people of color, whether they're Indian, whether they're black, whether they're Hispanic. Is definitely a whole lot. Oh, in Hispanic community.
Yes.
that is something we're pushing more in the district, and that's why I also want to
I want a Hispanic show.
I'm
at the
trying
radio
to
station.
really make sure that our Latino community is included. We have a very large population in this district. So I am a part of the Latino caucus. No, I'm not Hispanic, but I will be by the end of the year because I'm going to learn more Spanish.
How you Hispanic?
I'm going to learn more Spanish. I'm a part of the Latino caucus. In fact, I'm the only in the Southeast region. So for the Latino caucus. No, I'm not. I'm sorry. I'm lying. How do I say that when we have Dominicans in the Southeast region? That's a part of the caucus. But Delco, let me say that. So in Delaware County, I am a part of, and the only rep that's a part of the Latino caucus. I have a very high population of Hispanics here, incorporating the Hispanic businesses. I want to keep providing them the services and the local businesses that I've been doing. I've been working with the Latino businesses. How do we be able to provide the support? Making sure that all the state-related services, booklets, pamphlets that we have, drop it off to them, and been working with them that are bilingual so they can be able to, speak with them and communicate on the ways that we can actually enhance them and even help them as well, whether it's through their housing, their businesses. If you know anybody that's bilingual, we are trying to bring in some interns that are bilingual as well. So it's something that, it's a step. But I do believe that we're pushing. We're
taking it in the right direction, right?
And pass the ID bill. I need y'all to call the Senate to get the ID bill passed. I need the people to call the Senate to get the ID bill passed. It passed.
We got to call the Senate?
Yeah, it passed the House. My bill passed the House with bipartisan. No problem. So even though I am Christian, I do believe in humanity and making sure that, everyone is serviced in all ways. And just want to make sure that people are being.
You get Christmas and Easter and all those.
Yeah, I mean every
holiday for every religion.
Every holiday for every religion is on the books on the state besides it. So I just want to make sure that everyone is included and that we're moving in a progressive way that everyone knows that Pennsylvania is not a place of division, but we're a place of diversity, and that we're going to include everyone that plays a vital role in our communities across this state. So call the Senate and tell them to pass Kazeem's bill for the ID bill and make it a state holiday so we can make sure that all of our people are included in this state.
Ms. Zulene, we definitely need jobs for our youth, but before we can get jobs for our youth, we have to make sure our police force resembles us. So we need more, black and brown, right? Black and Puerto Rican, black and Dominican, black and Venezuelan police on the police force, right? That's what I was talking about. I wasn't asking for more people that don't live in the city to be a police officer. Anyway, CMPRadio.net, we would like to thank Carol Kazeem for taking the time out of her very busy schedule to do an interview, to talk about what she has done, her future hopes, and everything that she wants to continue to do as state rep. Listen, Election Day is what day?
April 23rd. It's actually earlier this year. So it's not the norm.
Right.
It's earlier. They changed it up as far as the legislation this year for the voting. So it will be April 23rd. So please go out and vote April 23rd. April 23rd, we need your votes across. Whether you're in the district or not in the district, we need you to get out and vote April 23rd. This is a time that they are trying to come back and take a whole lot, including our HBCUs. Believe it or not. We'll talk about that another day.
Absolutely.
So we need our communities to come out and really start speaking. They're trying little by little. So I need y'all support on all angles. April 23rd. Come out and vote.
I appreciate you. Thank you.
No, thank you.
All right. We'll see you again.
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
All right.
Thank you. Take care, y'all.
Peace.